I like that one. I saw that in the chat. I've realized I've messed with the camera. I've been all over the place. If y'all don't think, no matter what, that I am into the racing, no matter what goes on, just trust me. The table's all over the place right now. It's a glass case of emotion and everything like that. And of course, it blew out your ears. Damn. It'll level out. I like that one. The Lumberjared has arrived. Welcome on in, everyone, to the post race for the Xfinity 500, the penultimate race of the season. We now know who will compete for the championship at Phoenix. The Cup Series guys are now set. And hey, you know, y'all kept wanting to not have a Penske guy in there. You didn't want Penske to go for it. Well, we have Hendrick versus Gibbs, Chevy versus Toyota, and it was capped off with William Byron walk-off winning his way through 304 of the 500 laps, led by the 24 in vintage Jeff Gordon fashion. Byron gets the victory by 0.7 of a second over Ryan Blaney. There will not be a fourth consecutive Team Penske championship. You could get a Hendrick championship for the first time since 2021, or you could get a Gibbs championship since the first time before since the last time it happened was before the COVID pandemic. So there is a lot to look at. I have a poll in the chat for all of you, and you can vote all the way through. We're going to let this poll roll the entirety of the stream tonight. And it is, who do you think is going to win? Larson, Hamlin, Briscoe, or Byron? Let me know. I'm seeing a heavy favorite so far. But before we jump into anything else any further, I want to know, out of 10, what did you think of this race? Let me know in the chat. Spam all of those numbers that you can. And while you're at it, I'll even put y'all on the screen while you do it. There you go. All of you are on the screen. Let me know out of 10 what you thought of this race. Personally, I had a great time with it. I actually really enjoyed this race. And it was because for the first time in a long time, it felt like real Martinsville. Was it a instant classic barn burner? No, it wasn't. At least I don't think so, but I still thought it was a pretty good race. Did one guy dominate a lot of it? Sure. Two guys really dominated it, because the top two finishers, William Byron and Ryan Blaney, led 304 and 177 apiece, meaning that when you combine them, they led 481 combined laps out of 500. I can do math, but not that good in my head. That would be 96% of the race was led by those two, and they were the class of the field today. The 24 team showed up and was awesome, as they have been the last 2 weeks. And this time, bad luck did not take its hold on William Byron, on Hendrick Motorsports, on that entire team. And Ryan Blaney has been the best in this race now for the last 3 years or so, until the 24 dethroned him. And that was a big talking point heading into this, was who was going to go and take it to the Penske guys, just like they might have had to do at Phoenix. This time, though, they didn't have to. They didn't have to take it to him at Phoenix, I should say. At least not this year. I'm turning off everything with Wi-Fi so the stream doesn't go out. And it was like I said, a vintage 24 team performance at Martinsville. Looking at the finishing order of this race, let's go through it really quick. After 500 laps, 3 hours, 33 minutes, 58 seconds, 10 cautions, 78 laps, 7 lead changes. By the way, if you tuned into the pre-race show, I had given you guys the option. Is it going to be over or under 9.5 cautions? We just barely got the over. I was right on that one. At least that's what I was right with. Pick points will be a lot closer this week, that's for sure. William Byron wins the race by 0.7 of a second over Ryan Blaney. Chase Elliott, a valiant third, but not really able to show anything much more for it. Ross Chastain, fourth. Kyle Larson does enough to get through with a 5th place finish. I think that's his worst Martinsville finish in like the last 5 races or so. Ryan Preece actually had some real and legitimate speed tonight. But he comes home with a 6th place finish. 7th, Christopher Bell. The Koof car does not advance. Neither does Joey Logano in 8th. The defending champion will not be able to defend his championship against the likes of Gibbs and Hendrick. Joey Logano is eliminated. There is no amount of post-race tech shenanigans that could probably let him back in. Maybe there are, but I doubt it. So for those who are afraid of the boogeyman there, it's looking like you're good to go on that one. But a great effort by that 22 team. They were probably the lowest ring of guys still in it, and the Elite 8 basically. And they at least put up somewhat of a fight. Just didn't have the speed to keep up with the teammates, the teammate of Blaney, as well as the Hendrick team. Todd Gilliland, Pickle Man, gets it 9th. So the Pickle car in 9th place. And then Josh Berry, a 10th place run. I forgot which one of y'all said it, but one of you guys said, watch out for the 21. He'll be a dark horse to be in the top 10 or 5. You were right. Tyler Reddick in 11th. Ty Gibbs in 12th. Kyle Busch in 13th. Shane Van Gisbergen, another top 15 at Noval. He's coming too. He is really getting, on his, he's getting it more and more. And he ran there most of the day. Austin Cindric, 15th. Austin Dillon, 16th. 17th, Custer. Bubba Wallace, last on the lead lap in 18th. 1 lap down for Haley and Keselowski to round out the top 20. Nemechek in 21st. Suarez in 22nd. Alex Bowman and Michael McDowell, 23rd and 24th, a lap down. 2 down for Zane Smith in 25th. Ty Dillon, 26th. Stenhouse in 27th. 3 down for Allmendinger in 28th. Busher in 29th. Gregson, 30th. Hocevar, who is in every other caution today, 31st. Then 12 laps down for Cody Ware in the 32nd spot. Casey Mears, I believe he was out, or at least off the track, but he finishes 22 laps off the pace in 33rd. The rest are out, and it's 4 Toyotas. Eric Jones, 34th. 35th, Denny Hamlin. 36th, Riley Herbst. And finishing last, Chase Briscoe. We will put these up on the screen for you now. So if you want to see where your guy finished, it'll be down there. Let's talk Final 4 here. The 4 guys that are still in it to win it, that advance, and the 4 that got eliminated. So the 4 that advance again are William Byron, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Chase Briscoe. 3 of them are looking for their first championship in NASCAR. And then from there, you have 1 that is looking for their second in Kyle Larson. And like I said, of those that are eliminated, you have Ryan Blaney, you have Joey Logano, you have, you have Chase Elliott, and I don't know why I'm blanking on the other, Christopher Bell. I'd say this, when it comes to Phoenix, all 4 of them have been viable candidates to win that race. I think Elliott would be the one that would lag behind the most, but he would still probably be a top 10-ish, 5-ish car. Those are pretty much the best of the best. If you look at the top 10 that scored like the most points all year, all 8 of them are in that top 10. When you look at the guys who have been competing at the front all year, and I can pull up Racing Reference just to tell you guys that might say, oh, that's, this and that, they weren't good, whatever. I just want to make it clear. I don't know if they have it currently is, but coming into this race, when you look at total points accumulated on the year, who was the fastest and the best all year? Kyle Larson first, William Byron second, Chase Briscoe fourth, and sixth, Denny Hamlin, who was missing in a race this year. These are the best of the best, competing with Bell, competing with Blaney. Elliott was seventh of them, and Logano was ninth. These are the best of the best this year. We can talk all day long till we're blue in the face about last year and how much of a joke it had turned into. And sure, you can. You can't say the same about this year. This comes from a pro 36 guy. These are the best guys out there. And it's so close because of how close the field is up towards the front that you can make a great argument for Byron, for Larson, for Hamlin, and for Briscoe that they all deserve this championship. This is not going to be one of those years where we can, make a million videos about nobody deserving it that was up there or anything like that. So I want to dispel that right now while we're talking about it, while we're talking about these four. I could totally see them finishing second or third and winning the championship because the Penske guys are still going to be really, really fast next week. And you're still going to have some pretty damn good drivers that are racing against them too. That's just how good it is this year. So I'll pop them down on the bottom of the screen as well. There are your final four entering Phoenix. 1 weekend remaining. Let's talk about the race, though. There's championship talk, and we'll talk about that this week. For sure, we will talk about it this week on NWP on this channel. But we have plenty more to talk about with it. So looking back at the race, I liked the fact that there was real comers and goers. It was maybe still a little more difficult to pass than like the COT era or Gen 6 when it wasn't neutered to 550. But I think the tires that Goodyear brought, the new left side tires, I do think that they helped. I do think that they really helped. And it's a great step in the right direction. I'm interested to see what like another 80 to 100 horsepower like they're talking about doing for next year could do. I think that would probably go a long way as well. I did think it made a difference visibly on the racetrack. When you look, for instance, early on, the 22 and the 9 were going and doing an old Jeff Gordon tactic where they would go up and diamond the corner. They'd enter low, go up about a lane, get a good run off the corner. That is exactly what Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Denny Hamlin, Dale Jr., Clint Boyer, like guys who were really good in the era before this one at Martinsville. That's what they would do every time they wanted to make moves on people, and it works. And they were able to maneuver a little bit more in this, which again, as Martinsville being my favorite track, I love the fact that they actually were racing it like Martinsville, not racing it like it was just a slot car track and you needed to be on the shortest ring in order to win. Sure, there weren't many passes for the lead. There were 7 on the day. There were some strategy calls, but there are Martinsville races. A lot of them you can look back, and it is very similar to this because when Martinsville is on and when drivers are able to do that and teams are able to do that, you do have dominant teams, and they are raced against. You saw with the 24 and the 12, they were the class of the field. Look back at some of those races where it was Gordon and Stewart or Jimmy and Gordon or the 48 and the 20. Like they had those races a lot back in the day. So I don't think the numbers do it justice is what I'll say. I personally gave it like a 7-ish out of 10. I think it was good. I think there's room to improve. But it was a great step in the right direction. And the first stage also is the start of the Suarez and friends, and it should probably be Hocevar and friends drama today. Suarez battling with Bubba Wallace, half spins, kind of. Honestly, I don't think should have been a caution, especially when they took so long later with the 43. But the 99, the 43, and the 77 today were the caution clock. Like as soon as the runs got too long, I'm like, all right, where's the 77? Where's the 99? Where's the 43? And like without missing a beat, half the time it was Hocevar, of Hocevar, but man, the dude just was a magnet for trouble today. But we saw on lap 36, the first restart, we saw the difference that tires made. Michael McDowell, which granted, he was about a middle pack car. He was, I think, running 13th before the initial caution. Took 2 tires where everybody else took 4. He dropped like a rock and I think fell 2 laps down by lap 130, which was the stage break. So about 100 laps, and he lost about a mile to the leaders up front. Byron ending up winning the stage. Logano looked really, really good early in this race. I think just the car got away from him as it went. But that 22 team was there. The 22 was up in the top 5, battling with the Hendrick guys. I mean, it was really the Hendrick and Penske show for a lot of this race. And then Ryan Blaney in 88 laps went from 31st to 7th, just flying up the leaderboard. And you knew that it was going to gear up for one of those battles again. I saw a lot of you guys in the chat being like, man, we are really cooked because we picked the 12. No, you're not. You picked a pretty damn good one. And I don't know why people thought because he qualified in the back that he was going to be bad. But for the first part of this race through the runs, it was the Hendrick cars who were really consistent. They were the ones who could really keep it up towards the front. And again, Jesus Christ, I don't know if y'all can hear that. My kid's reaching a new octave, man. But it got away from a lot of them. It got away from a lot of them. Yeah. Okay. You did. And the thing is, she's probably like across the house. She's just, if she has any semblance of a good singing voice, she is good to go. Oh no, don't worry about it. My wife's like sitting there. I'm sorry. No, it's fine. Like, it's fine. She's the siren. Yes, that's right. I'm not getting red because I'm embarrassed. I'm laughing. I'm having a good time, man. That's pretty much true. She's the siren tonight. And since Dawsonville doesn't get it, and I actually have on the top line of my notes here, I have caution for Hurricane Hocevar spun by Suarez. And with that, on the radio, Hocevar just says F him. And that wasn't the last that we would have the future teammates having trouble with each other. It wasn't the last time that Hocevar would have trouble with his own teammates today. And we started to get a bit of a cluster of cautions. Again, single car ones, or the wheel came off of Cody Ware, but there's a lot of single car issues and just like stack ups in the back and stuff like that. That's typical Martinsville. The 48 got into the 21, which sent the 21 into the 41. The 41 goes around. It's just it's energy moving. I mean, you see it in any era with this racetrack. Byron, of course, then winning that stage. So Byron in this race swept the stages. I don't know if he got the fast lap, but he went on to win the race. So, I mean, it was about as perfect of a race you could get for him, despite some of the circumstances going on. Now, the other part I want to look at with this is entering this race, Kyle Larson and Seabell were in a bit of a battle together, right? They were the ones that were going to be going for that one spot with the points. And 1 point, I think, is what separated them. Larson outscored Bell by 1 point in the second stage. And then in the first stage, outscored him by 5. That was the buffer the 5 needed. One has to make it enough of points. That's the way it's set up. Even if they have the max of 3 winners. But with that, that they had to race each other. And I had said earlier this week that I was going to be interested how they called the race with each other. Just because I don't know if they want to go for the win just in case something happens or what. But I think from that point forward, from that second stage when the gap was fully known going in, that basically the 5 team just went into do whatever you have to do to just stay ahead of the 20 or keep the 20 in view and you'll be good. And that's pretty much what they did for the majority of the third stage. I mean, it was a smart move. It was a smart play. Do I think Larson had what it took to go up and get the win? No. Do I think that he probably was, and his team was probably having him play it smart though, and not try and turn a 5th place car into a winning car on one restart? Yeah, probably. They were playing it smart today and racing. I don't know if conservatively is the right way, but just intelligently. So we get into the final stage, and of course you got the cautions back and forth. But here's something that I think people are either going to be really worried about or they're going to brush aside. And I think there's a nice middle ground on this. In about a 30 lap span, actually closer to about a 40 lap span, from about lap 295 to 335, 3 Toyota engines let go. Briscoe had engine issues, goes to the garage lap about 295, 296. About, give or take 30, 35 laps later, Riley Herbst goes to the garage with engine issues. And okay, that's a little weird, but as long as not another one has an issue, I don't think people will worry too much. Then Denny Hamlin blows up like 5 laps after Herbst does. And it's this epidemic of Toyota engines blowing up. I don't want to be on that Instagram account. So with that, there's two trains of thought here. One is, okay, we're worried now. And the other one is they were clearly testing something. Now, I don't doubt that they were probably testing a few things, but at the same time, and 35 probably is a test car at this point. Like, let's see how these adjustments will work in the back of the pack instead of the front. Eventually we'll have to work our way forward. We'll just see if the 35 can, we can. Jimmy Spencer was very validated today. But with that, I'm kind of thinking of the last couple weeks. The last couple of weeks, especially with the 11, there have been mechanical and engine issues. There's been different things breaking, different problems. And I don't know, maybe they're pushing it on different levels and trying different things the weeks before too. But I got to admit, I'm a little, it's going to be in the back of my mind. I'm a little worried. I'm not like all the way over here crazy worried, but I'm a little worried. I'm a little worried heading into Phoenix. We got 2 of them in there, the 11 and 19, and all it takes is one little thing going wrong, and all of a sudden you go from leading the way and being on your way to a first championship to finishing 40th if the full field is there. There's even more problems we've seen, like with Christopher Bell a couple years ago at Phoenix, having problems with the brakes. So there is a very, I would say there should be a very cautious optimism, because I do think that the Gibbs cars are probably a little bit better at Phoenix than the Hendrick cars, but that's going to be in the back of everyone's mind going into this race. Now watch, we'll say that, and the Hendrick guys will be the ones that have problems. But yeah, you had the Toyota engine issues there, and then there was a little worry there. But we didn't have caution, so we had green flag pit stops. So 22 comes in, then the 9, the 20 do, then the 5, then the 24, and the 12. And right in the middle of the green flag cycle, we have Eric Jones go around. He just locked him up and spun it around, entering turn 3. And this completely turned a lot of things on its head, because sure, the 24 and the 12, they were the ones that would be on the lead lap. They're going to be racing. They'll be fine, right? But the rest of them were stuck a lap down. You have to take a wave around. That's an extra caution and restart that you're not able to make up much ground with. And that was, I think that is what sealed the deal for the most part. Now, granted, again, they got closer. There are plenty more cautions, plenty more laps. People could have made stuff up and made up ground. But that was kind of what set it up, as like, this is going to be a battle with the 12 and the 24 from that point forward. The other thing I question is, why the hell did it take so damn long for the caution to come out then? But when Suarez was barely halfway around, they called it, and he had saved it. They didn't even give him a chance to save it. It was funny because I had seen, I think it was a race from like 96, a person put a clip out about, and like somebody like spun it around and kept going, and no caution. It's just, I know it's like 30 years ago and there's differences now and blah, 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 blah. We don't have to explain that. But it was just kind of interesting that it took that long. And at the same time, Cindric kind of screwed himself, because he tried speeding off pit road to save himself a lap, had to give it back because, that's a big no-no. There's not a smart move. I get it's probably what he got to lose at that point. But we get it back going with about 110 to go, and Hocevar's around again. Shocker. Like, absolute shocker. If you had a drinking game for every time Hocevar was involved in a caution, and add in Suarez and Jones with that, you'd be plastered right now. You would be absolutely plastered. And speaking of that caution, yeah, Button guy was MIA. But the 77 slows into the 99, cuts him off, and Suarez has nowhere to go. You had that problem. You had then the 43, with just the right front completely basically broken off at that point. You have the 71 getting into Hocevar too, his own teammate, and I'm not surprised at this point. Carson Hocevar has been very aggressive. I like Carson Hocevar, but eventually it comes back to bite you. And at the end of the year, at a track where people can get revenge on you or are just sick of your bullshit, they will tell you, whether it be to your face, like a lot have been trying to, or whether it be that they're just going to use the front bumper of their car to tell you. Either way, they will tell you. And they told Carson Hocevar. He effed around and found out. And at least enough. During this span, with about 44 to go, because for about the last 90 laps, it's that battle between the 24 and the 12, which again, I say classic Martinsville, classic NASCAR short track battle between the best of the best in whatever race. But 44 to go, Byron moves Blaney. It's a bit of a tight squeeze. The 12 tried to clear himself and squeeze the 24. 24 was there, and he was not having it. I know there were people that just said whatever, and that's just short track racing. And to me, that's just short track racing. On the other end, I don't subscribe to the people that are like, oh, that's dirty or this. No, that's Martinsville. And the 24 starts running away with it until that caution with Hocevar or his teammate gets him. Which I just find really damn funny. And we get it back going. 11 laps to go. 11 laps shootout for the win. 24 and 12 restart on the front row. And they're even through 1 and 2, but the 24 clears him off of turn 2 onto the back stretch. And Byron is pulling away at that point. And he pulls away just enough to stay out of the reach of the 12. I'm just surprised that Blaney didn't try and pull something when they were closer. Tried to dive it in because you never can wait to the last lap in these unless you're just noticeably that much better. I'm surprised that Blaney, with like 10 to go, as he got cleared, didn't just run it in there and just try and bump him out of the way. With how much grip they had in the tires, I don't think it would have spun the 24 unless he meant to. But he raced him clean. And I think that's a lot of the reason why Blaney has a lot of respect, especially from the older brass in NASCAR. But at the end of the day, kind of like last night with the 8, the respectable way to do it ultimately isn't the way to go. Plus, the 24 was just better at the end. The 24 was a better car at the end of it. And he had more aggression. William Byron had more bite to him in this race. He had more aggression. And at the end of this race, whether the tires were going away on the 12, but they were going away on all of them. Like, let's not act like this wasn't a thing the entire field was going through, that the tires were just pristine on everybody else but the 12 or the 24. Like, they both were wheeling it. And William Byron just and I know that Blaney fans aren't gonna like me saying it this way, but William Byron just wanted it more today. He just wanted it more, and he showed it. His aggression, the way that he would just take control of the race on restarts, masterful. I mean, it was a masterful drive by him. I don't follow the driver ratings that they put out every week. The way that they have PFF grades for NFL stuff and football. But I would have to imagine that William Byron's driver rating this week is probably, if not perfect, it is close to perfect. And Blaney was up there. It's just, this is the one time that Blaney puts together this amazing run. And there's one guy that's just, he's just better. That is why William Byron will be going for a championship next week in Phoenix, and Blaney won't. But like I said, I like this race. And I liked it, and I liked it because of the Martinsville factor. I have to admit, maybe they had a little bit more than I noticed, but I feel like NBC toned a little bit of the playoff talk down. And don't get me wrong, it was still overbearing at times, but didn't like try and force it into every single time that they said something, and so it didn't bother me as somebody who watches more for the racing. It didn't bother me as much, and yeah, I like this. It was a good battle throughout. Props to both guys. Yeah, I mean they laid their guts out there, and it ended up being just an absolute masterclass of a race by both of them. It was a fun race. Did Shaq get eliminated? I will not tell you the standings, but mathematically, any of the 4 that are involved in NWP can win. That's all I'll say. But it got much closer this week. Congrats to Eric. He picked Byron. The one time I get a top 5 and 2 guys are ahead of mine. So is what it is. It'd be a lot of fun heading to the wire on that one. There's your season. If you want a season long championship, you got that one, and you got the NWP Fantasy League. We got plenty with that. And I'll put the results too up here. I realize I've been putting the Final Four constantly. I have to admit, next year now, because I'm looking a lot towards I'm looking a lot towards 2026 with a lot of the racing to end off the year. I'm very interested, man. I'm very interested in what can happen next year. If Daytona can improve the way it improved this year, I think that, and Atlanta Super Speedway should be fun. Talladega improved a lot in the fall race this year. Can we do that for Talladega next year? The short tracks with the tires, props on Goodyear, doing really good. A lot better, at least major steps. And then you add in the fact that for tracks like basically Darlington and Nashville Super Speedway on down in size, you're adding horsepower next year, which won't make a huge difference, but every little bit, as we've shown with the Goodyear tires, can make that difference. The intermediates are, might have taken down a step, but are still pretty good. And I personally think some of them are amazing. The Charlotte race this year was, in my opinion, still the best race of the year. I'm optimistic about next year, and hopefully we'll have a majority of the lawsuit stuff out of the way. We'll, hopefully have the playoff talk and discussion out of the way. Like I think 2026 can be a very positive year for NASCAR fans. Sure, there's still problems with the sport and there's things that need to change, and we'll talk about that, but fingers crossed, man. I like that we're having at least some positivity to talk about with it. There's going to be lows, that's for sure. But there also can be a little bit more highs with it. And yeah, Ram's coming back for the truck side. So, a lot to look at for next year. And there's still a lot to look at this year. I think I did the math, because I think next week's truck race is 150 laps. I think 200 laps for the Xfinity race and 312. So if I'm not mistaken, if I did the math right, I think it's like 662 laps of regulation left this year. 3 races left, 1 in each series, 1 weekend to go. And then unfortunately it's the off season and we don't get to see each other as much. And then we get right back to it. Should be a lot of fun, honestly. Let's look, and a reminder, by the way, just remind a few things. Subscribe if you are new. We do this after every race. We do it before a lot of races too, but we do it after every race. We'll be live on Wednesday with Eric Estep, Danny B Talks, maybe a surprise guest. We might just start doing that more, just have surprise guests, and y'all have to just tune in and see who the hell jumps on. That'll probably be a thing we do more next year. There will be a lot to talk about. Plus, there might be some news breaking this week. We'll see. But be sure to check that out. Let's double check while I'm at it, and as we go into that super chat stage break, and I'll have to probably take the chat off screen. I'm gonna keep you guys on screen as much as possible because I think it's really cool. But let's look at the voting right now, and I think because here's the thing, it's loading into my end. We have over 1,000 votes in for who you think's going to win the championship next year, and right now, Denny Hamlin with 40, or this year I should say. Next week, who's going to win the championship? Denny Hamlin is leading at 42% of the voting right now. Second is William Byron, 22%. Kyle Larson, 19% in third. And Chase Briscoe, 17% is the underdog right now. So keep on voting, bring people in. It's interesting when Denny Hamlin is the favorite. I will say that. But there's 312 laps, maybe even more of racing next week. Practice, full practice session, qualifying, all of that. So I think we have plenty when it comes to looking at that. All right. There were a lot of super chats that were left, so I'm going to have to roll through a few that were left before that we can't put on screen. A good amount. I appreciate you guys waiting so long, and all of you for watching too. I appreciate every one of you. It's a blast every week. Roman numeral 3 says Carson Spinovar. Yeah, Hurricane Hocevar was a very good nickname this week. Jeffrey King says slight disappointment over Elliott, but yeah, HMS, let's go, Byron. Yeah, Hendrick. Yes, Byron, yes. Hendrick fans should be pretty happy with today. It was pretty much going into this a given that, the best case scenario is 2 of them. It's just what 2. Joshua says a dominant driver in a dominant 24 car has dominated Martinsville. It is now going to be a tag team fight between JGR and HMS as Kyle Larson takes the final spot by 7 over Christopher Bell. Goodbye, Team Penske. Yeah, I didn't realize how close it was at the end there. But still, enough of a buffer room. Hunter Nixon Fishing got all 4 Champ 4 drivers right. Let's go 5. I don't remember who my full Champ 4 was. I know I didn't have Denny, but I think I had Larson and Elliott. I'm pretty sure I got at least 2 of them wrong. Let's see what we got here. Daniel says, I believe I had Byron getting at Martinsville. That was domination. That reminded me of the old 24. Go Byron, go. That was old school 24 domination. Lucas says, I genuinely give up. This car has ruined arguably the best tracks on the schedule, and it gave us the worst Martinsville race ever. 0 out of 10. Respectfully, I think you're wrong. I don't think that was a 0 out of 10. I think that was a decent race. I thought it was decent. Was it the best ever? No, but I think it was a very good improvement over what we've had for the most part in this era. And I think it's a great next step up. So no, I'm not going to say this is by any means the worst race of Martinsville's history. I've seen worse races in Martinsville's history from former generations of cars that aren't as good overall. Jeffrey King says, my favorites in order: Elliott, Byron, Larson, Bowman, HMS, go defeat. Gibbs, Tyranny, 24 and 5, go do it. And let's see. Austin says, do you think we've seen our last ever Final Four championship playoff format race today? Lord, I hope so. I'd be okay with any of the 4 winning the championship. Well, I'll address that part first. I'm okay with any of those 4 winning it too. I think all 4 of them have put together a good enough season. I think, when people look at the full season points, you have to take into account the wiggle room back and forth of how they would have raced differently. The strategies, for instance, in the last 9 races would have been way different. The chances taken. So, if you are basically within that range and that you see every week shown, and if you look on Racing Reference, yeah, I think that is pretty deserving, all things considered. My voice is leaving me, man. But as for, have we seen our last championship Final Four? I don't know. I think the public push is definitely for 36. I think actually the push in the industry is probably more 36 or 10 race chase. I know there's the talk of like flipping the rounds or like a 3-3-4. I honestly don't know at this point. I don't know, because every time I hear somebody say something that's more in the know, it's like, well, that sounds very convincing, or this sounds very convincing. Why are they saying this stuff publicly that they never would have said before about X, Y, and Z? honestly, unless we hear from people that are more in the know, I don't know really how to change any of it. I mean, I think there's a couple that are clear favorites right now. I think you got 3-3-4 is a clear favorite. I think maybe a 5-5 is a clear favorite. And I think if you're looking for like that wild card option, 36 is your wild card option. I think it's way more on the table than a lot of people that don't like it have to say. I think it's way less on the table than like a Mark Martin will say, where it's like, oh my God, it's the favorite. It's not the favorite. It's probably not the favorite. Um, but I think those are probably your three viable options right now. And however they split that up and whatever, or however they score the points, I don't know. I think we're probably going to be out of the loop on this for the most part until January. We're probably not. The NASCAR is probably going to want to keep it very hush hush until then, just so that they can control the narrative. Y'all know where I stand on it, but I don't think it's too much more speculation is going to do any of us any good. Who knows? I've seen Wilkesboro come back. Who knows what could happen? Prada says 10 years ago, Jeff Gordon won this race to compete for his 5th title. Today, in Gordon-like fashion, Byron dominated the race to go compete for his 1st title. I said it after New Hampshire to not sleep on the 24 car. The 24 had been definitely off compared to how they performed these last 10 races before. And I will admit I fell off that bandwagon a bit. I was at that race. It was awesome in person. It was one of the greatest sporting events, just atmospheres I've ever been at. The only time I've heard NASCAR fans get as loud as they did in 2015 at Martinsville was when I was at Michigan, damn near 15 years ago, when Dale Jr. broke his winless streak. I think it was like 13 going on 14 years ago. That was the loudest I've ever been in person with a crowd. Gordon winning, the Logano Kenseth deal, like that was as close. That was as close. But yeah, it's amazing that there was a lot of talk about that this week, and the 24 came in clutch, man. Let's see. Mr. Bad Guy says Bell, who had the best season so far, won't even finish top 4. This race is a 5 out of 10. I'm very displeased. That's the thing. Like, I do think Bell deserved a better shot at it. I would not be surprised if there's any talk on the format stuff, if Bell starts spouting off more. I wouldn't blame him. But like I said, I think that the 4 that were up there were around almost as good as both. Bell definitely had one of the most consistent seasons out there and one of the best. And he was one of the 4 fastest this year. But I could make that argument for Blaney. I think Blaney was just as consistently fast, even with all the issues he had. The 24 has been consistently good. The 5, very hit or miss, but still, when you look at overall season performance, has been right up there with them as well. Denny Hamlin missed a race. If he doesn't miss that race, it's looking a lot more comparable, I think, to the rest of them. And Chase Briscoe has been, like I said, top 4 or 5 best guys all year. So, I can get that argument. I do think that with how it is now, I think the way they race, you can't tell really who is full on the best anymore because of how close the next gen is. And like you could tell with the Gen 6 era, like there was clear dominant cars. Now it's just, it's close together, but at the same time, a lot of people have to do stupid things that screw themselves or get themselves better finishes. You don't really, it's getting harder to judge that much. And I think that's what NASCAR wants. They want it to be closer, at least visibly closer, even if they can't really race, as well. But here we go. Man, it's maybe this is the last time we ever have this conversation. And if so, God bless America. Jeff King says it feels like 2015, 16, 20 again. Go HMS. 15 was Bush, 16 was Jimmy, and 20 was Chase. I guess if you mean like Jeff making it in 2015, then sure. Let's see. Hammered Squash says Big Bill Byron with the clutch victory. That's right, Big Bill Byron. Philip Morris, sad face with the Blaney profile. I get that. God, man, I don't know. I need the off season just to get like everything back to normal with my voice. I don't know if you can tell. It is definitely going away over the year. Twin Spinner says Carson, hat trick, Kosovar. I love her. I love Kosovar, man. But there's some times where it's just like, dude, you just get out of your own way. Like, and if it's other people spinning you out, why are they always spinning you out? Like, what? I feel like he's kind of earned it a little bit. Let's see. Max here says six race out of 10, maybe 7. Got dull at times. I'm so happy Kyle Larson made it in. William Byron winning was awesome too. We've got a proper Final Four this year. This time, felt bad for Bell also. I do think it's as close as we're probably going to get to the absolute best, the best competing for the championship. Like with this system, with everything that we went through. Like I said, of the 8 that made it into this round, 8 of them were in the top 9 for points scored all year. It's definitely a much better mirror to who's been good this year. Which again, with this system is all I can ask for. That's all I can ask for. I don't want to complain too much more other than that. Tyler, I knew I was going to see you here, man. And I see me there. Man, I was a little swole, man. That was when I was working out. You can see like my arms there were really big. I think that was like the week after we sponsored the car, the podcast party bus, if you will. Yes, I do have it on my desk because that's really cool to see my own logo in a race car. That was an awesome day. It says, let's go. Suck it, Blaney. I'm so elated. I bet you are, man. And maybe this makes up for, I think it was 23 that Byron was clearly probably the best all year. And I know I met a lot of you guys in that span because I went to a lot of races early 23. I basically from late 2019 through early 2023, I was like, goddamn near every other race too. And yeah, I know Eric sponsored a car. I actually have that car over there too. Support your friends, support the people that help get you places. And always support your friends. Where am I missing here? But yeah, I mean, congratulations and congrats to the fans of Byron, of Larson, Hamlin, and Briscoe. Like, it's got to feel great. Like I said, my driver competed under this format competitively 2 years. They're very frustrating. So like I had a whole different feeling when he competed for a championship in the chase, right? I can't imagine the stress for fans. Even if I don't get into it, I don't want to be the party pooper for y'all. Joshua says, am I the asshole for wanting only 36 to 38 cars for the final race of the season? No, not at all. I would assume you probably don't want like some of the shit wreckers out there that would just get in the way and cause problems or be really slow. Like I get that. I'm assuming that's what you mean. Austin says, as a Hendrick fan, I guess I'm happy. As an Elliott fan, not so much. I still feel like the 9 needs more consistent speed throughout a race. He always seems to fall off the pace when it matters. Yeah, I mean, they've gotten better as this year's went on. I mean, I think of Dover right off the bat as a race that got away that should not have gotten away. But, Elliott and that team is definitely a step off when it comes to having to win. Like consistency wise, that 9 team is one of the best at finishing top 10 and top 5s, which I think should be commended. And I think whatever the next system is should reward good finishes, and show that more. But they do definitely need to take another step to reach the level that Byron reached today, that Blaney reached today, that Larson reaches a lot, that Denny Hamlin, even Chase Briscoe now. When it comes to hitting that next level, the 9 team and Chase Elliott are definitely that second tier where things go right, they'll get wins. But they need things to go right to get those wins rather than make things go right. And I think that's the difference, at least eye test wise, a lot of the times in these races is that, like I said, the 11, the 19, the 5, 24, 12, 20, a lot of times they can make things go right. Where like the 9, the 45, the 1, they have to have things go right. And there's a difference between making them go right and having them go right. Justin says, good race, but why did NBC go straight to local news instead of doing a post-race show? And why can't the post-race show continue on USA? Okay, that's a good point. The local news part and all that, let's be honest, NASCAR does not have much standing in this country when it comes to the airwaves anymore. We are basically just put on wherever the TV partners would need us to be put on. But putting it on USA, yeah, why not? I mean, what are we going to interrupt the like 20,000 people that are falling asleep to an SVU rerun? Like, I don't think it's that big a deal. Let's see. Vikings all day says no Penske cars in the Champ 4. I see this as a lone W in what's personally been a week full of L's. Vikings and LSU. I can, I feel you on at least one of those levels. Even though I knew that game was going to be a complete cluster and they were going to be awful. There's always next year, right? As for LSU, as a Notre Dame fan, I have no sympathy for Brian Kelly, and I am elated to watch his downfall because he's an asshole. And I hope you guys get a better coach because your program deserves a better coach. I'll say that. Much respect to him, the program, not the coach. Twin Spinner says JGR needs to get sponsored by Hershey's or get Mars back, considering how often their engines seem to turn into chocolate, or Nesquik. They'll have that chocolate milk, like Ty Gibbs did last year or the year before, whenever the hell that was. Let's see. Justin says, down goes Penske. Down goes Penske. More importantly, down goes Logano. That Mickey Mouse can't take another undeserving title. I knew we were going to get some of those ones, man. I knew we were going to get some of those ones. I don't blame people, even if I don't really hate Logano all that much. I hate the game. I don't blame Joey at all. Tyler McGonigal, a new member. Thank you. Welcome back. And gifting 5 memberships. Nice. Thank you. Awesome. Phil here says, sucks for the 12. Hope 12 fans aren't mad at the 24 for that pass. Just hard racing. I love that attitude. That is awesome. You're way more mature as a fan than I ever was with Dale Jr. So like if anyone even got near him and cost him possession, I'm like, that dude is my enemy. 24 will be hard to beat next week. Wonder if JGR was trying things, but I would be concerned. Go 12, rooting for the 24 next week. Yeah, there probably were trying things, but I just think when you look at the track record, the last month and a half of issues JGR's had, you got to have a little bit of worry. Maybe they're testing things to see what was breaking, and Toyota in general, but yeah, I'd be a little worried. Justin says, Carson Hocevar having Christian Fittipaldi caution clock in NASCAR Thunder 04 career mode. Go to Mark Leffler's NASCAR 04 career for reference. I mean, I don't know, man. Every time I was in career mode, Christian Fittipaldi always caused cautions. Joshua says, yeah, your daughter is bound to be quite the is it color I'm not good with like I know there's like sopranos and on other types of voices. I've been never really that well attuned to it, and mispronunciation is very common. But I get what you're saying, and man, if she can hold the tune, she will hit those high notes. A Prada says, fun fact, Byron is now the only driver to make the Final Four a third time in the next gen era. He's now led over 1,200 laps this year. No doubt he's elite. Totally elite. And yeah, Joshua Boston explains, like, that means she can sing high notes, like very, very loud. Trust me, when I'm changing her at like, 2 a.m. and I hear that, then yeah, she can sing them. Lawson says, what a drive by Byron. Very true. And just what a drive. And the Allmeister says, who would be leading the Winston Cup in 2025 right now? I believe Christopher Bell might actually would have locked it up at this point because of what happened to Chase Briscoe in that format. I'll put it out on Wednesday morning. I know they have that account on X that puts it out every every night. They probably already have it out at this point, but I believe Bell would have probably locked it up with that run tonight, or at least, realistically. Let's see. Tyler with another here says Byron has finished third in the championship race the last 2 years, both times only trailing the Penske cars and Ross. He is a real threat with no Penske drivers. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think he's right up there. I think Denny having the extra time is definitely going to be a really, really big portion of the competitiveness from JGR. I think it's going to be a very even fight. And I would never would count Larson out. Briscoe has won here before in lesser equipment. So I think it's going to be a dogfight. For everything that went wrong for the format and those who like it last year, it's going very right for a lot of this year. I will say that. Jeffrey says, in this order, here are my pre-rankings: 11, 24, 19, 5. That could be how it goes. I mean, it could be the 24 and the 11. I'm not counting any of them out. I want to actually like deep dive into a little bit more of the data to see if there's like any kind of X factor that we're missing on this. Cause I like on face value, I think they're very much even. Beer 30 Lacrosse says, I wonder if Gibbs was testing engine wear. I mean, maybe. I don't know what they would be testing, but there's probably something that they're like, we can get that like little just skosh of speed extra. And I wouldn't be surprised if they were at all. I wouldn't be surprised if they had 2311 testing as well. Carl says, Mark Martin is Dan Marino. Will Denny become John Elway? Maybe. Denny Hamlin winning next week would be amazing too. I think there's some pretty good storylines for these guys this year for sure. Denny winning with the lawsuit stuff going on, that would be amazing. That would just be amazing to watch the squirming on stage of the execs. Jeffrey with another here says Chevy knew the assignment. That they did. Joshua says 11 between Byron and Larson for full season title. 11 between Byron and Larson. Do you mean like Byron and Larson are like ahead and below him? I'm not. Or do you mean like full season, like with adding in today's points scored at this race? Again, it's just so hard to actually judge off that, just because I do think they would have raced very differently at this point of the year. I think Chase era, you can judge more off of it, just because they raced still very similarly to before, outside of a few instances. Nowadays, it's just so different. It's hard to like. I have fun with it. It's a great hypothetical, but like I don't take it to the bank like I used to. Jeffrey says Byron is Jimmy Johnson and Gordon combined to go 24. That is a bold statement. I will not go that far. He's got a long way to go, very long way to go to reach either of them. But I will say, I mean, this Hendrick team, top to bottom, the last 4 years or whatever it's been since Jimmy retired, is probably the strongest all four cars have been over a 4 or 5 year span. I will give you that, because like even when it was like Jeff, Jimmy, Dale, and Casey, Kane would be off, or Dale Jr. would be off, or like when in the years that Mark Martin was there and Jr. was off. So I can't. Yeah, I will say the team overall is at least there. Connor says he clutched it. Woo, or like clutch win. Yeah, clutch win. It was. Justin says the reason there hasn't been any postponed races is because Mother Nature got confused at the MLB at Bristol, so it has interrupted football games. Yeah, I mean, where's it at? Let me pull this up real quick. Let me pull this up real quick. I had saved this tweet I saw from, I believe it was Seth Eggert, who said, we are one more race weekend away from NASCAR having its first full season with 0 races postponed pre-race due to weather, or by a full day or more across the top 3 nationally touring series. The last time this happened, that any of NASCAR's nationally touring series, all of them did not get postponed to the next day, was 1994. Like the last time I think a Cup season didn't get postponed to the next day was 2005, if I'm not mistaken, which is coincidentally the peak of NASCAR's popularity. But that is something that I found very interesting today. And with the forecast I saw at Phoenix, I think we're going to reach the mark no problem, which is really cool. Like it's a full year we haven't had to worry about or deal with Mother Nature just being an asshole to us. We got a break for a year, which means probably next year is going to be awful. Gooby's Fun Zone says, sick Ford has no cars in the championship. Do you think they will push for changes to the championship formula? I don't think that Ford will, just because they've benefited more than anyone the last 3 years with it. But I do think that we're getting changes. I'll just say that. I don't think Ford's pushing for it. I think everyone might be pushing for it at this point, but it's just what they're pushing for, I guess. Austin says, it makes my heart smile to see the playoffs potentially go away forever. It warms my heart to see the industry start to acknowledge it. It's time. I agree. I've said so much over the last year. I don't know how much more I can say. AGT says, disappointed about no Penske. Let's go Briscoe. I think they could still go out and like 1-2 the race next week with Logano and Blaney. I totally could see them doing that. Justin says, insert Carson Hocevar getting upset while playing his video game stream. Yeah, that might need to be the next sounder we have. Austin says, why would anyone be against the 36 race format? People weren't even upset back in the day. It was change for the sake of change. I mean, I get why. Like, I get why. Like, people want to have a competitive and fun championship to the end. I think we all do. I think it's just the difference we all have is just like the equation to get there. A couple more here. Joshua says, only Byron, then Larson -11 and Bell -25 would be mathematically in contention for a full season points heading into the final race of the season. Holy smoly, folks, get your final picks in. If y'all want to follow that, be my guest. I'm not going to rain on everybody's parade. Austin says, it's hard to believe my fave Jeff Gordon hasn't won a race in 10 years and hasn't competed in 9. We're getting old, man. Appreciate you, Jarrett, for helping my fandom continue past my guy retiring. Love you. Well, thank you. And I get it. Dale Jr., I think I was just a year removed on pretty much all of that with you with the Cup side. Dale Jr., I think his last win was 10 years ago at Phoenix when the rain delay. Who knew? I mean, he won like a duel, I think, in an Xfinity race after, but that's about it. I guess we're getting old, right? Alex says, sad for Bell, laughing at Joey, JGR versus HMS Final Four. I think that's probably a very shared response from a lot of people. Reed says, what was your favorite past chase format? Please be specific since there were many tweaks. And what's your favorite potential future format? Favorite chase format, I'll go 2011 to 2013. It's a nice mix. And usually the wild cards, like, yeah, sure, they won some races, but they weren't good enough to like put 10 straight races together. And he had the great championship with Tony and Carl. 2012 one could have been better. In 2013, Jimmy was just too good. I think 2014 with that format would have been like a hell of a great one. Favorite potential future format, I mean, 36. Not Lapford, though. I think the Lapford system had too many problems, and I think we can simplify things, award-winning more. I would like laps led to be rewarded. I'm fine with stage points staying. Let's take away the cautions. But even then, if we get a full season championship, I probably won't bitch about the cautions because I'll get the big thing I want. That would be my play on that one. If you want to chase some version, some future version of a 10 race chase would be my only real middle ground. And I've kind of got myself in where I'm at. Kevin says Carson Hocevar was diagnosed with Vicarnism. Yeah, it was getting there. I'd like to see some of the replays a little bit more. I know NBC kind of skimmed over a lot of them because like it got to the point where like, it's Carson Hocevar. Kind of like, Mike Joy did with Cody Ware. Poor guy. Let's see what else we got. Justin Drake says, anyone else after week 4 of this season think it may be Christopher Bell's year? Now his 2 teammates, 20 years of trying Denny Hamlin and 2014 Harvick arc Chase Briscoe are the ones in next week while Bell just missed it. Yeah, I mean, I will say with the current playoffs instituted in 2017, It was better than the one in 2014 because at least it awarded playoff points the full season, a little bit more. But what a difference it makes from February to March to October, November. Yeah. Last few here. Sad Bell missed it, but at least Logano's not in. Again, I think a lot of people are on that train. And Brandon says Carson Hocevar is Brian Vickers, Robbie Gordon 2.0. I think that's the last one. He made a strong case today. That's for sure. That'll do it though. We will be live this week on this channel for NWP, and that will be on Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Danny B and Eric E will be on. Should be a lot of fun. We'll talk all about this and more. We'll be live after the Truck, Xfinity, and Cup finales. We'll be live before the Cup finale, probably sometime that morning, and we'll be talking about racing all week. It's the end game. This time next week, season will be over. So let's enjoy it while we can. 3 races to go. I've enjoyed all of this year with you guys a ton. I appreciate all of you. And thank you, Justin, saying, I wonder if the current regular season points format could work as a full season points format. If you mean just the way it is now, yeah, I think it probably could, honestly. Just award-winning more. But thank you guys for being awesome. I appreciate you so much. And I can't wait to talk to you this week and next weekend. So have a great night, everybody. Enjoy your night, and I'll see you all later. Bye.